I've seen coaches freeze when a client actually starts crying. Why do those emotions matter so much?
So tears aren't signs that something's wrong. They're actually evidence that something real is surfacing. And as a coach, when you stop getting into rescuing mode in those situations, you can bring out the best and help them find clarity that they've never had before. There's something that we teach our students inside of our certification related to emotion coming up. If emotion comes up, that means you must have asked a powerful question because it brought out something of your client. And generally, that's the path that we're going to want to go. Because to be honest, most people, if they experience emotion in someone else, they actually don't want to talk about that thing. They want to change the subject because they want themselves and their clients to feel comfortable. But the truth is, if that emotion is coming up for them, is because this is so important and meaningful to them. And so as a coach, I don't want you to lean out. I want you to lean in. Yeah, there's going to be times when you want to ask if it's okay to go down that path, but I want to let you know this. When you communicate to your client that this is important and meaningful to them, so that means it's important and meaningful to you, and you're willing to go along that path with them, it changes the game. Because now they don't just have somebody who's going to be sharing ideas and insights. They're actually now going to be a part of a team that's going to be tackling this together. And I got to tell you, the confidence that your client will have when you're willing to do that is next level. But the breakthroughs you experience, that's where the power really comes. So here's a different way to think about it. Think of emotions as data, not drama. Trying to comfort too soon in those situations might actually get your client to shut down. And the best way to respond here is to just be present. Because being present with your client will build more trust than you can ever imagine. Remember, it's not the easy times that we build that level of trust. It's the hard ones. It's when we're willing to lean in and to help tackle this as a team. That's the kind of coach I want you to show up as. That's why today's quote is, tears aren't breakdowns, they're breakthroughs in disguise.
So what do you think coaches try to fix when an emotion comes up?
Usually I find two different reasons. Number one, either discomfort. They're uncomfortable. They don't want to get their clients to be uncomfortable. So they want to go a different path. The second is you're afraid because you don't want to actually hurt the client by going down that path. Both of these perspectives won't get you to show up as the best version of you, which is what your client needs in that moment. Remember, you don't need to have the answers. You just have to be willing to ask the questions and go through it with them.
What happens when a coach just breathes and stays?
The client starts to see the reason behind the emotion. Emotions are there to help teach us something. And when we give them enough time to be able to process it out loud, they actually see the reason why the emotion is coming up, and then we can tackle it from there.
How do you help coaches build that tolerance for emotion?
First is practice. Like, put yourself in an environment where this is just something that comes up all the time. I know inside of our certification, there's a lot of emotion that comes up. There's a lot of emotion that comes up on one-on-one calls and even group-based calls. But putting yourself in that environment so it's not out of the norm when it happens will help you see how best you can show up in that situation. The next thing is just to focus on curiosity. Sometimes we get so focused on how we're feeling or how the client's feeling that we lose that opportunity to be curious and get to the root of why that emotion is coming up. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody to get good at coaching yourself. Because in those moments of emotion, we'll often start to make things mean something about us, and they have nothing to do with that. So remember to practice focusing on your perspective that will get you to show up as the best version of you, and the rest of the session will work out exactly the way that it was supposed to. So recently I was on a coaching session with a dad who's also a business owner. And his main thing was he wanted to show up for his family, his kids and his wife on another level, just like how he had been showing up for his business. One of the processes that we take some of the men through is this idea of like writing your eulogy. And I know it kind of sounds morbid. However, when you think about how you want to not only show up in the world so that at the end of your life, people are talking about you and who you are and what you've become and the impact that you've made, you can actually go to the end, figure out what that would look like, and then reverse engineer so you can start showing up like that person today. And I remember having this conversation. And when he got to his son and what his son would say at his eulogy, the tears started to flow and we leaned in. And I told him, I said, hey, listen, this is a part of the process. This happens all the time. It's supposed to happen. It's important and meaningful for you. That means it's important and meaningful for me. I'm all in. Let's talk about this. What's coming up for you? And what happened is he realized that he wasn't showing up as the father that he could show up as. He was not showing up as the person that he wanted to be at the end of his life. And by being able to verbalize this and me asking him, well, what would that look like right now in this moment? you could see those tears turned into processing, and that processing turned into a plan. When you give somebody the time and the space to do that, not only do they leave the session having processed that emotion, but they feel clear and know exactly what they need to do next, and there's nothing that could stop them or get in their way. This is why we spend so much time on this inside of our certification. Almost during every session, we talk about the emotions of the person experiencing in that moment, because that's where the turning points are. And making sure that you stay steady when that emotion comes up is priority number one. Now, once you start to trust yourself in those emotional situations, the next breakthrough is learning how to let go of perfection in your session, thinking that that's just what success looks like. It actually doesn't. And you might be missing something that's actually key, which is what we're going to be diving into in breakthrough number 8.